Just gone 2:30. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Newsfeed, the PM edition. Interesting conversation coming up next. Now, for millions of South African women and girls, menstrual products are a basic and trusted monthly necessity. But a new study from the University of Free State has found that every sanitary pad, pantyliner tested contained at least 2 endocrine-disrupting chemicals, substances that may interfere with hormonal systems. The study does not conclude that these products cause disease, but it raises serious concerns about long-term exposure, regulatory gaps, and whether consumers are being fully informed. So this afternoon we ask, are South African women being adequately protected, and what should change urgently? We're joined via our video link by Professor Lizette Erasmus from UFS, University of the Free State, part of the research team, and menstrual health activist Candice Chirwa, who's in studio. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us, and Nompumelelo is obviously on the panel as well. Candice, let me start off with you. What is the biggest discovery from the study and its implications?
I think the biggest discovery is definitely the noting of the chemicals in these period products. There are things that I can't even pronounce scientifically that I think the prof will help, but we've always, from a menstrual health perspective, known that there's synthetic fibers, cotton, and plastic in these products. But noting that there are chemicals in these products that we use at a sensitive part of our body is of a concern, especially if it is causing hormonal imbalance, reproductive toxicity, and potentially cancer. I think the major sentiment that a lot of people online have been having, especially menstruators, is, are these products safe to use? And ultimately, we have been seeing false advertising with these products because they do say, for transparency purposes, you can trust the effectiveness of the product, but you can't. Now we can't trust what's in the product, and that is of major concern.
Yeah. Professor Lizette, I want to come to you. If you could just tell us about what it is that you found in these products and what methodology your study followed.
So thank you for having us. First of all, we tested 23 different products, and when we read on articles that you get many of these chemicals in these products, we decided to test them. So we screened for 20 different EDCs, which is our endocrine-disrupting chemicals, so across 3 different categories. So here's the difficult one. So it is phthalates, and these are used in plastics to make it more flexible. And then we tested bisphenols. So these are things like your BPA, and that is added as additives to your plastic layers. And then there are parabens in there, and these are used as preservatives. So obviously these are all important. So we purchased some standards just to make sure that we have the right things. And then we used our HPLC, which is a very highly specialized chromatography method. And we tested these chemicals, the purchased ones, to get their fingerprint, and then we extracted chemicals from these sanitary ware, and we put it into these machines, and then we could see clearly how much of these chemicals are present and if they are present.
So Prof, when we take a look at those chemicals and their presence...
Sorry, say again?
So when we look at the chemicals that are present in these
yes.
sanitary products, right? Just how much of the chemical is present, and how much is required to cause harm to girls and women?
So when we test these products, the value that we got was actually very low. So if it was just a one-time use, that would not have been concerning. But if you consider that women use these products for several days every month, and a normal healthy woman has a period about 450 times in a lifetime, the exposure and the uptake can be cumulative, and that is where the concern comes in, is the amount that is taken up over the whole lifetime. And then, of course, there is the problem that it is not just in these products, but it is also in different products as well. So you are not just exposed to it on one level, but in many different products as well.
Candice, I want to come to you. I mean, we spend, as a society, really, an organization such as yours, spend so much time and effort as well as money to ensure that these sanitary products get to schools, especially those in remote areas, right, to alleviate period poverty, number one, and secondly, to ensure that these young girls do get to school. How scary then is it to find out that the very products that ensure that children do go to school and therefore have a brighter future are actually causing them harm?
I do believe that we should shift the focus and attention on consumers to more the regulatory bodies that are responsible for creating these period products. Because this is not calling for the programs to stop, because these girls, like you rightfully mentioned, require these menstrual products as a way to go to school, and in larger amount, dignity, right? Dignity and justice is here. So I think what we need to do is actually focus more attention in lobbying government to lobby these period product manufacturers to say, where is the transparency? What ingredients are in these period products? And I think what's important for us as consumers is to actually, put pressure. I think just as much as we know the ingredients that in this bottle in our food, we need to have the same in our period products. And I don't think we should stop the distribution of period products, but I do believe we need to just call for greater accountability and transparency.
Prof, when you look at these chemicals, were they deliberately added, or are they migrating from plastics, adhesives, or manufacturing processes? And I'd imagine that you would have sought some form of reaction from these manufacturers in the process.
So we definitely don't believe that people put these products or these chemicals into there with to cause harm. So these products are in there for a specific reason. But the thing is, there are other chemicals available that can be put in there, but these are more expensive. And we believe that that's where the innovation lies, where these companies should start looking for different chemicals to put in there to get the same results and comfort for their products that they want.
Did they give you some form of reaction? You obviously, in carrying out this study, would have tried, at the very least, to have a conversation with these manufacturers.
Well, they have now come into contact with us. So from next week on, we will come into contact with them and try and engage and see if we can do something about this and test it more regularly and make sure. Because what we believe is that during the process where they put all the different layers together, where they hot press it, some of these chemicals are accidentally set free from the plastic layer, and then it gets absorbed onto the top layers, which is the layers that we tested.
Prof, you mentioned that some of the chemicals contained in these sanitary products are contained in products such as plastic, for instance. Why would it be that chemicals absorbed through sanitary products would be more harmful with prolonged use, just as much as, for those who use plastic and drink out of plastic bottles annually, daily, in fact, over a prolonged period?
That would be the same exposure. So what we are concerned about is that the area that is exposed, the skin that is exposed to these products are different from normal skin. So they absorb chemicals more readily than normal skin, like your hands or so. So the plastic that is in plastic bottles, they also contain some of these, as far as we are known and as we've seen in literature. So that is also a concern, and those products also need to be tested and regulated more rigorously. But I mean, to test plastic bottles and to regulate that is very difficult.
Candice, when you read this report, right, did you panic? What was your reaction? And because you've been in the business for so long, I mean, you've just completed your PhD, are there safer manufacturing alternatives? So women and girls that are watching the show right now and are thinking to themselves, okay, until it is absolutely clear, we may want to steer clear of certain products or certain brands. What are the options that exist?
Well, definitely panic came through, but also a level of concern, and then a feeling of urgency, because I think as many of us as menstruators, we feel a little bit helpless in the situation. Sure, we can boycott, not purchase these products, but at the end of the day, when you think of young girls who actually require these products, they don't necessarily have the agency and the freedom and the income to choose different alternatives. So for me, there was more of a sense of urgency as to what are we doing to ensure that stakeholders are being brought to the table and held accountable for this. Now, when it comes to different alternatives, and I think these are the conversations that we're seeing online at the moment, is people are pushing for organic, quote unquote, organic disposable pads. And I know that Prof did test one of the organic organizations there that claim to be organic, but it is important as consumers to actually look at brands that are very transparent about what's going into the materials. You also do have reusable products. So you have reusable pads, you have period underwear, and you have menstrual cups, and they are cost effective and environmentally friendly. However, the downside is that they do use a lot of water. And we are aware of the current water crisis that we're going through as a country. So we have to be mindful that to bring menstrual dignity to South Africa, it requires a holistic intervention. It's not just about access to period products, it's ensuring that we have access to better safe and sanitation and water, but also now also calling for products that are safe. Yeah.
I mean, Prof, Candice raises a good point there about these alternative sanitary products requiring a little bit more effort on the consumer's part. You, in your report, mention OEKO text label as one to look out for. But if a mother, for instance, is standing at a shopping aisle and they are beset with panic, like Candice was, and all the rest of us upon reading the study's findings, and they are looking through the various sanitary items, what should they be looking out for?
So as you mentioned, the label that we say is safe, that is more regulated. So that would be a good option. And I totally agree with Candice. There are different products available, the reusables and the menstrual cups, but those do require very proper cleaning because we don't want the ladies that are using that to get infected as well, because that can cause all kinds of bacterial infections if you don't clean them properly. So we need to look into better alternatives, and we are hoping that people would start looking into that more clearly.
Prof, who funded the study?
So at this stage, it was not funded by any external companies. We just had a conversation one day and said that this is unacceptable. So the University of the Free State funded this study. We just wanted to start the conversation and get people aware of these things that are in there. And we want to get people to change, the bigger companies, just to be a little bit more responsible.
So Mpumela, I want to ask this question to you as a panelist, because obviously you're not one of the two professionals in this area. Now, as a woman who's read up on this information, how do you feel? Are you in a state of panic, or are you more confused than you were before? Do you know how to move forward?
So, I mean, I think I have a sense of how to move forward, because this is not, it was unsurprising, firstly, the findings, right, of the study. Unsurprising because if you speak to gynecologists, obstetricians, they will tell you about the increase in PCOS in women, endometriosis as well. And every time I've ever asked about the reason why, they really don't know. It's like lifestyle issues. They'll tell you that it's general women's lifestyle. So this was one indicator to say, this could potentially be the reason why. Also, not necessarily panicked, but concerned about the prolonged use. I mean, I've been using the products now for decades. And I'm just worried about the implications of that use, but also just for the younger generation. What do we do now with menstrual cups? But you know, on that point, I'm not just the only woman in the country. I did go through social media just to see the reaction from women. And one lady asked, what do we do now? What is the way forward? Some of them were funny, as South Africans will be in serious situations. One of them just said, get rid of your womb.
Which is expensive, by the way.
Which is expensive, absolutely. I mean, Prof laughs there, but you know, how many women want to get rid of their wombs? And others said, continue doing what you're doing. There's negligible chances of any of these affecting you. Otherwise, stop using many things, including phones and other products that cause cancer. So that is the other argument, Prof, that so many other products that we use on a daily basis have the potential of harming our health.
That is true. Our reasoning is, at this stage, it is an essential product for women, so we can't tell them not to stop using or to stop using it. So we did not want to raise any panic. We just wanted people to be aware of what is going on. And then, of course, the medical doctors, we're not medical doctors, would need to investigate how much is actually adsorbed, tearing the skin from these menstrual pads, and what is the effect, and can they link these causes, the cancer causes and all these things directly to the use of sanitary pads.
Yeah. And just to add to Prof's point, I think this is why speaking openly about menstrual health is so important. You have so many people who menstruate who feel that the debilitating symptoms that they experience is normal, when in fact it isn't. And now I think after this week, a lot of people are now wanting to invest in seeing gynecologists, invest in doctors, but also weigh up different alternatives. And I think to Prof's point, I have to applaud the work that they've done, because it is saying that we need more visibility, more research funding in this space. As you mentioned, I did finish my PhD, and one thing that was lacking was the research in South Africa when it comes to understanding menstrual health. And so there's more work that is required here, and I think this is only just the beginning. So I applaud the UFS team for the work, and I just, again, don't want to bring panic to anyone who menstruates, but just really empower yourself and acknowledge that there are different alternatives out there.
All right. A clarion call to women, I suppose. Professor Lizette Erasmus, Professor of Chemistry at UFS, and Candice Chirwa, menstrual health activist, to women across the country to say, just be mindful of the products that you are using, and alternatives are certainly available to us. But we will be back with more news right after this.